Drones flying beyond visual line of sight have a big potential to make it easier to live and do business in the countryside. Understanding SORA is key to developing BVLOS drone operations. Hello, I'm Johan and this is Science Fiction in the Countryside. Just think of all the benefits that are unlocked when you quickly and cost effectively can get eyes on anything in a big geographical area and also deliver stuff. It will have benefits for you personally, for local businesses and for the authorities where you live. The possibilities to improve safety, service and lowered cost on the countryside are more or less endless, but today our national aviation authorities do not yet really know how to allow this in a way that is both safe, simple and cost effective for drone operators. It will probably take a couple of years with limited trials before we will see the true potential being unlocked. If you want to better understand this development, it might be a good idea to have a basic understanding of SORA, the current methodology being used to risk assessment, appropriate risk mitigations, and to meet safety objectives. SORA is central when you apply for a permit to do advanced drone operations. I will try to explain what SORA is on a high level today, but first a disclaimer, I am not really an expert in the SORA methodology. I do have some experience of BVLOS drone operations from managing a pilot project where we tested home delivery from countryside shops with drones, and I have now put in some extra effort in understanding what SORA really is. With this experience, I think I can quickly help you understand the basics of SORA without too many errors. To make it a bit easier, I'm going to explain SORA with the help of an example of a potential drone operation from where I live in Värmland, Sweden. The example is a time-critical delivery of a blood sample for the hospital in Torsby in mid-Värmland to the lab in Karlstad in southern Värmland. The distance is 90 kilometers and it should be possible to have a flight time well under an hour with a 100 kilometer per hour cruise speed. This is an operation that could potentially make life easier for some patients by not having to travel all day just to deliver a blood sample. You could leave your blood sample closer to where you live, and then the blood sample could be express delivered by drone to the lab for analysis. Okay, so we want to set up this drone operation. Sweden is part of the EU and hence we have to follow the EASA UAS regulations, which are divided into the open, the specific and the certified categories. We already know we can't use the open category as you can't fly beyond visual line of sight in the open category. We have to use the specific category for our operations. We probably don't have to get into the certified category as these are operations that needs lots and lots of risk mitigation. For example, flying heavy unmanned eVTOLs with passengers over densely populated areas. The specific category should be enough for this operation. We will have to have UAS pilots trained for the specific category and we need a permit to fly. To get a permit, we first check if there are any simplified methodologies for risk assessment and mitigation we can use. These are called STSs and PDRAs. STS is the simplest method, and so far there are two of those, STS-01 and STS-02. In STS-02 you are allowed to fly BVLOS, but limited to only 2 kilometers, so we can't really use that here. PDRA stands for Predefined Risk Assessment and means that the risks are already known and you only need to submit your risk mitigation plan when applying for a permit. So far there are 5 PDRA variants available, where the variables are, for example, VLOS or BVLOS, potential collision energy, population density and flight altitude. In our case, we need to fly over quite densely populated areas, and none of the existing PDRAs have BVLOS flying over densely populated areas. So we can conclude that we need to use the full SORA methodology to get our permit. SORA stands for Specific Operation Risk Assessment. That's straightforward enough. The SORA methodology is developed by experts from the whole drone industry in an organization named JARIS. The latest release, 2.5, has just been released, and in the EU, EASA will probably soon replace the current SORA 2.0 with 2.5. Other countries may or may not use the SORA methodology. You can totally choose that. SORA 2.5 is a 57-page document with a number of supplements. The next release, 3.0, is from what I heard 2 to 3 years away and will be better at adapting mitigations to how much traffic it actually is in the volume you will be flying in, which sounds like it could be really useful for countryside operations where you don't have a lot of traffic. To understand the SORA methodology, you need to first understand a set of concepts. Let's start with a few relatively simple ones: flight geography, contingency volume, operational volume, and ground risk buffer. Flight geography is the volume the drone flies in if everything goes according to plan. The contingency volume is wrapped around the flight geography. If you fly here, something has gone wrong and you need to take measures to get back to the flight geography. The flight geography and the contingency volume together is the operational volume. On the ground, around the operational volume, is the ground risk buffer. If something goes so badly that the drone also leaves the contingency area, the drone is expected to land or crash in the ground risk buffer. SAIL is a concept very central to SORA and stands for Specific Assurance and Integrity Level. Starting to get a little bit difficult now, right? Specific Assurance and Integrity Level. Remember those words, they will come later in the video. Anyway, a SAIL level is a number between 1 and 6 describing how big the ground and air risk is for a certain type of mission, and that decides how you have to perform your operations to keep risk at acceptable levels. The principle is that the risk should be at the same low level for all SAIL levels. The higher the SAIL level, the more you need to do to make sure the resulting risk is as low as for the lower SAIL levels. So what is then an acceptable level of risk? Here JARIS has leaned on what is already being used in manned aviation, TLOS, target level of safety. There should be a maximum 1 casualty on the ground per 1 million flight hours, maximum 1 collision with manned aircraft per 10 million flight hours in uncontrolled airspace, and max 1 collision with manned aircraft per 100 million flight hours in controlled airspace. This target level of safety is the same for all SAIL levels. There are several factors determining the SAIL level, but one of the most important is the population density on the ground. Another tricky concept to understand is robustness. To lower your SAIL level, which you want to do because then everything gets easier, you can take risk mitigating measures. Robustness describes how good a measure is at reducing risk and is a combination of integrity and level of assurance. These are words we recognize from SAIL, right? Specific Assurance and Integrity Level. Level of integrity is how good a measure is at reducing a risk. And level of assurance is how sure you can be that the measure really mitigates the risk. Integrity and assurance can both be set to low, medium or high, respectively, and you then end up with a robustness that is low, medium or high. Which level you end up with determines how you need to operate to reach the target level of safety. The SORA methodology is divided into 10 steps. Step 1 to 9 is sometimes referred to as the first phase, and step 10 the second phase. In phase 1 you determine your SAIL level, and in phase 2, aka step 10, you show how you handle the requirements for the determined SAIL level. I will not go through the details of how you calculate the SAIL level in step 1 to 9. This is a beginner's video after all, but the idea is that you use the supplements in the methodology as guides to calculate the SAIL level when you combine the ground and air risk and your risk mitigation measures. The permit you hopefully get from your National Aviation Authority in the end does not have to be limited to a geographical area. You can apply for a certain type of operation that can be performed in different geographical zones. Okay, I promised an example to make this a bit clearer. We want to fly from Torsby Hospital to the lab in Karlstad. We want a flight that is as direct as possible, as we are in a hurry with our time-critical blood sample. The first step is to describe our planned operations. What drone will we use? What route are we planning to take? The operational volume, the ground risk buffer, when and how often we will fly, etc. Now is a good idea to make a first contact with the national aviation authorities. You want to check early with them if this type of operation is possible at all, because there might be something classified or that you are not aware of that makes a certain operation impossible or very difficult to get approval for. If they say that the operation should be possible to get approval for, it is time to run through all the steps of the SORA. Let's say we end up in the end with sail level 3. This is what I understand you can expect as the lowest level if you plan to fly over somewhat high population density. Now it is then time to contact the National Aviation Authority again, saying that you are planning a sail 3 operation and submitting the documentation that made you conclude that it is a sail 3 operation. The authority checks if they agree that sail 3 is the correct level, and if they do, you do step 10 to show how you will handle the sail 3 risk level, and hopefully you then get the permit. In practice today, the permit will probably go along with the authorities setting up a temporary danger area, D area, for your operational volume, at least in Sweden. There is an ongoing discussion on coming up with a solution that would not require a D area, as this is quite limiting for other users of the airspace and it's a bit of a hassle to set up. But whatever new solution that comes up as an alternative to a D area, the SORA methodology will probably still remain central in the permit process, so it is good to understand it. This was a very simplified explanation of the SORA methodology. There is a lot more detail to it, and this is why it is not uncommon to hire a consultant when applying for a permit in the specific category. At least in Sweden, the National Aviation Authority is charging quite a lot to handle applications, and if there are mistakes in the application, you may end up in paying a lot for nothing and or having a very time-consuming process. If you want to know more about SORA 2.5, have a look at the video I linked to in the description with Nathaniel Apter, member of JARIS. I hope this video gave you some basic insights into what SORA is and why it plays a central role in flying drones beyond visual line of sight. If so, please consider giving a thumbs up and to subscribe for more news and deep dives into science fiction-like technology that make living and doing business in the countryside easy. See you!